Imagine you get attacked outside of your apartment building. Loads of people see, nobody does a goddamn nada.
Welcome to East London.
Welcome to East London, right? I was surprising, not really. This is what I found is so scary about doing these case studies, as I'm like, what has really changed? Hello and welcome back for another Psych Yap session. I have another special guest with me today, my sister. Say hi.
Woo, woo, woo. Hey.
We are getting into the bystander effect that came from a very unfortunate case of a murder in New York City.
Oh, God.
So yeah, we're going to get straight into it. Like I said, you've been attacked outside your building. There are dozens of people that witness this crime. Nobody does a goddamn nada. This is what happened in New York City in 1964. So let me set the scene for you. 1960s New York City. And we're not talking about the Upper East Side. We're not talking about this cutesy, romanticized version of New York that we somewhat see today. We're talking about the Bronx. We're talking about Queens. We're talking about Harlem. We're talking about the hood, okay? Not cutesy. It's quite grim. It's quite unsafe. And again, this is the 60s. Crimes were rising. The drugs were starting to take over the streets. There was a lot of social tension. People were pissed off. People were angry, underpaid, and wanted some change. The murder of my good girl, Kitty Genovese. I think I'm saying that right. I'm not actually sure if I'm saying her name right. Genovese? Kitty Genovese. Anyway, she was a good girl. She's 28 years old. She's walking home from her job as a bar worker, and she gets attacked. March 13th, 1964, outside of her apartment. This is what the newspapers spread out, right? They literally sensationalized this case by saying a girl was murdered outside of her apartment and nobody did nothing. The verdict, New York is cold. Nobody cares. Nobody cares about what's going on. Not my circus, not my monkeys, is essentially the census that the newspapers are putting out into the world. So insert these psychologists, because they was like, hang on a minute, how can people see something so tragic happen and nothing happen? Like psychologically, what the frig is going on with humans? Like, how did this actually happen? By the way, the killer was found, Winston Moseley, which unfortunately with the name Mr. Winston, I know he was Jamaican.
I was going to say he sounds like a white.
No, because you know Jamaicans love a white name.
That's true. Bob Marley.
Bob Marley. Richardson, a very popular Jamaican last name. Winston, our dad's name is Simon.
Yeah.
He is Jamaican.
It's probably Bible.
Yeah, you know, they actually use a lot of white names. So I already know Mr. Winston was a Jamaican. God bless my people, please do better. But he was found, convicted, and he had actually killed multiple people, unfortunately. These psychologists, John Darley and Bibb Lataine, were like, how could so many people watch and literally not do a thing? So a few years after this murder, they decided to do some psychology studies, which literally changed the course of psychology for decades later and birthed the bystander effect. And we're going to get into the gist of those studies, how they affected the case, and the legacy and after effect of this case and the psychology studies that were done. Experiment number 1. The smoke-filled room study. So this was done in 1968, so 4 years after the Kitty murder. And they wanted to see how the presence of other people changed the way people act, changed the way people react to things, right? So imagine you've been told to go into a room, fill out this questionnaire, and all of a sudden smoke starts filling this room. They wanted to see how many people would report this. And if there was other people in the room, would they or would they not still report? So there was 3 conditions to this study. The first condition is that the person was in the room alone. Now, of course, they wasn't told the real reason of the study. They was just told they was just doing some research on whatever it was. And this study, by the way, took place in Columbia University, an Ivy League school, where a lot of these psychology studies were done back in the dizzle. So this is done in Columbia University. They said to them that the study was about problem solving, but of course, it was much deeper than that. They've got one person in the room. They're filling out a survey, a questionnaire, and then the room starts filling with smoke. When they did it with just that one person in the room, 75% of people reported the smoke that came out of the room. Then they did it with 2 Confederates, so 2 actors that were in there, and they were acting very calm, very like, this is normal, this is whatever, smoke, who cares? Now, when there was 2 Confederates in the study with the participant, 10% reported the smoke in the room. And then the third condition was there was 3 real participants. So none of them are actors. They were all in there, all under the same assumption of they're in there to do this questionnaire. When it was all 3 of them in there, 38% of them reported the smoke in the room. So, you know, when there was someone else who was kind of being cool and not doing nothing, everybody also sat back and was like, bet, no problem. Whatever the smoke is, it's fine. We're just going to deal with it. Only 10% of them reported it. when they were all natural, they all were kind of there for the same thing, and no one was necessarily acting cool, calm, and collected about it, 38% reported, which is still pretty much half of the people that reported it when they were by themselves, right? So from this, it showed, which I love this term that they come up with, pluralistic ignorance, which essentially means that people rely on other people to interpret a situation, right? So, yeah.
No, I was going to say, I am so guilty of this.
Right.
I'm so guilty. I just watched something where someone was like dropped overboard, and then she immediately like stopped the boat and like pulled the alarm. And I was like, honestly, I wonder if I would just be like, I'm sure someone else.
Right, they're good.
Someone else is going to deal with this. No one on deck. It's fine.
Yeah. So it's like, let's all be ignorant together. Everyone, like when there's other people around, it's like, okay, well, someone else must be doing something. So pluralistic ignorance, beautiful term, love it.
Love it.
So they also show that obviously when you're alone, you feel responsible.
Not
when
me.
You're with other people.
Not me.
Let's not tell them what you do for a living.
I can give you scenarios.
But when you're with other people, the responsibility kind of gets evened out, right? It gets thinned out. You don't feel like you're as responsible because there's other people. Like, surely there is someone else that is more, certified to deal with this problem. It's not my responsibility because there's other people here as well. So this is actually called the diffusion of responsibility. Again, when you're by yourself, you feel like it's all on you. When there's other people there, you feel, well, is it really my role? Is that really my problem to get involved in? Again, something that I think has definitely gotten worse as we go further into where we are now in 2025. Again, these studies were done in the late 60s, 1968. So my question for you, which I think you kind of answered, do you think the bystander effect is more prominent now in 2025?
Well, it's not the same, but there's kind of a correlation. And I think about like having to call the doctor. And like, if you think like back then, I would always get my mum to call the doctor for me. I think that's more widespread as a thing now. And I think people are more isolated and more socially not prepared to put themselves in uncomfortable situations.
Right. Because like, I think especially now when things can get twisted and seen, like you don't want to help someone and then you get in trouble, or right, then it gets spun on you, like you didn't do the right thing or you was meant to do this and you did this instead. So and I can't lie, it's also me. Not my circus, not my monkeys. Again, that's something that I say a lot. Okay, because I'm like, whatever's going on over there, I've got my own things going on, my dear.
Do you remember that time when that guy got arrested
outside the house?
You very much was like, it's not my circus and not my monkeys.
To be fair, my sister was how many months pregnant? 8 months pregnant, right? Guys, I shit you not, right? An undercover police basically ran someone over on the electric bike, electric scooter, but like drove into our drive, and we was just at the door when this happened. And my sister's immediate reaction, 8 months pregnant, was to go outside and be like, "No, police brutality." Save this guy. And I was like, wow.
To be fair, did not know they were police at the time. Thought they were Russian gangsters.
They were undercover, to be fair. It did look very sketchy, and they literally drove up onto our drive and we were like, whoa. But again, you was 8 months pregnant, girl. And I was like, baby, relax. That is literally not your pregnant problem.
That was a real life lesson to me, because I was like, oh, I really was about to run into the fire and
put yourself in danger.
Anything could happen.
Yeah, which I think, may be valid if you wasn't 8 months pregnant, but I think being 8 months pregnant, I think is valid to say,
But that's also a good point. I wonder if women are naturally like that.
Well, we're going to get into that later. Humans are wired to see group cues, right? So if you're in a group situation and you see something happening, if no one is really reacting, we kind of go off the cues of what everybody else is doing.
Yeah.
And this is where abnormal things can become normal, right? Because it's like no one's doing anything. So you're like, okay, am I crazy? Am I bugging? Like this seems to be normal. So this is where things can get a little bit crazy in the bystander effect world. So they wanted to do another study as well. Now this one was called the Seizure experiment. Now the official title of this study was the Bystander Intervention in Emergencies, Diffusion of Responsibility. So the reason they wanted to do this study, because the smoke room effect, obviously it wasn't a real emergency. It was just a bit of smoke in a room, not that catastrophic. But they wanted to see how people were in real emergencies. Kind of assuming that maybe with this Kitty case, people didn't realize it was a real emergency, but that she was literally screaming for her life and screaming for help. So I don't know how that's plausible, but whatever, c'est la vie. This was published in the Journey of Personality and Social Psychology, if anybody wants to have a further deep dive
Volume
after this
5.
episode. Yeah. Now, this study was done in, where was we at? New York University, right? Which is not an Ivy League school, but it is prestigious. And guys, you know, I only know all these universities from watching Gossip Girl. Like, if you know, you know. So when I saw this was done at NYU, I was like, oh, NYU. But again, it's not an Ivy League, but it is a prestigious university. And now they're actually kind of been grouped into the new Ivies, because I think your Harvards, the Stanfords, the Yales, they've been dominating, they've been Ivy Leagues. And I want to say you can't just join, like you can't just become an Ivy League school. It's like if you wasn't an Ivy League school from 200 years ago, then you're not going to become that girl now. So they've kind of created this new group of the new Ivies, the new universities that are very prestigious and very hard to get into. At this study, they wanted to see, again, how college students would react to an emergency. Again, they wasn't told what the real experiment was for. They was told that they were just doing a study on university students' life in uni, how they adapt to uni life, all of that good stuff. So this is how it was done. They are in a cubicle. They are on the phone, or they felt like they was on the phone, but it was actually all pre-recorded. Now, they was in groups of 2, groups of 4, and groups of 6. So it was them and the other person. They had 2 minutes each to speak. Only one mic was working at the time, so nobody interrupted each other. So imagine me and you are in a cubicle. We can't see each other. We're just on the other side of the line. And the other person, so there was one victim who had a seizure, right? So imagine they're speaking and they're talking, and then they start coughing, they start choking, they're like, oh, and then slowly it just fades away. There's silence, right? Which quite traumatizing, not gonna lie. Like if you was on the phone and literally heard someone what you felt like was dying, I can imagine that being very traumatic. I feel like in that situation, I'd be like, what the fuck? What the fuck is going on? Like this person's dying on the phone, like what the hell? So these are the different conditions, again, that they did. So the first condition was one-on-one. So them and the victim on the other side of the line. And then they did it in groups of 3. So them and 2 other people. So one victim and one other person. And then they did it in groups of 6 because they wanted to see how the group size affected people's, not ability, but affected how people reported what happened with this guy who was having a seizure. These were pre-recorded tapes, so nothing was actually real besides the participant itself. So the conditions, when it was one-on-one, 85% of the people reported what the hell was happening, and it took them less than a minute to do so.
Nice.
So less than a minute, which nice, but not 100%. I think a bit wild. Like if you think of just one-on-one speaking to one person and you somewhat hear them die, and not everybody said something.
Again, maybe they just felt uncomfortable. Like, who do they go to? What do they say? It's a mission. Let's be honest. It's a bit of a mission.
It's a lot of work.
It's a lot of work. Because they're like, you know what? I was only meant to be here an hour.
I'm a student.
It's going to take a while. I'm just going to pray for God.
Right. They're just going to get their money for doing the study.
Yeah.
Keep it
moving.
So when there was 3 people in the room, so the person on the other side, the victim, and someone else in the call, 62% of the people reported that, you know, we think somebody has died on the other side of the line. But it took them on an average of 40 seconds longer to actually report and get out and get help for this other person. When there were 6 people in the call, 31% of the people reported that, okay, something has happened to this person. And it took them nearly 3 minutes to report. Like, so under 1 minute when it was just one-on-one, and then nearly 3 minutes to report that they think somebody has had a seizure and potentially died on the other side of the line, which I think is a crazy time difference.
Yeah.
Like nearly 3 times as long. And they was being watched through a one-way mirror, right, by the psychologist. And they saw that, you know, a lot of people froze. A lot of people were like, should I do something? Should I get something? Surely someone else is doing something. Like, what is going on? A lot of them literally gasping, hand over mouth, gagged. Like, what the fuck have I just witnessed? Have I just heard? But a lot of people kind of waited until it was painfully clear that no one was helping this other person.
That would have been me.
Like, are you sure? Are you sure no one's doing something? And only when they were sure, that's when they did something, which is, I guess, why it took them nearly 3 minutes to actually report that something had happened.
Yeah, time is of the essence.
Time is of the essence, especially, like, I don't know, I feel like literally hearing someone, like, break down on the other side of the phone physically, I would be gagged. I would be like,
but do you think people just don't want to be, like again to the social interactions. Do you think people are just embarrassed?
I think so, and I think they were saying that a lot of people felt like it wasn't their job, it wasn't their role.
Fair.
And I guess, you know, with them thinking that they're still in somewhat of a study, right? Like they're doing.
Yeah.
You okay?
I'm trying not to like swallow really loud next to the mic, but now that I know that I'm swallowing, I keep swallowing. I keep trying to like not swallow.
I'm literally watching my sister do this. I'm like, is she trying to tell me something? Have I got a bogey?
No, I just don't want you to have to listen back and it's just me gulping.
I don't think they're that sensitive.
I just like it's
a mental
stressing
thing.
me.
It's okay.
Yeah, because now I'm stressed. I've never swallowed so much in my life.
It's okay. Don't think about it. You're okay. We can take a break if you want. Let me know. Girl, you want some water? Where's my water bottle? Get this girl some water. Give us a moment, please. We've got an emergency going on right now, okay? This is not the bystander effect. I will save my sister. Give us a second. Girl, I'm like, is there something on my face or am I missing something?
I'm really scared. You're just going to have me like swallowing.
I can adjust audio if anything. All is well. Oh gosh.
Can I just say though as well, like I think I'm in like a bit of an odd case in terms of this, right? Because I don't even sound the alarm for myself. Like, do you remember when I went and donated blood?
Yeah.
And I thought I was gonna die.
Yes.
And
you just found it.
I just didn't let anybody know, and I genuinely thought I was having a heart attack.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until they saw my face, they were like, "Are you okay?
Are you good?"
Yeah. And even when they were like, "Are you okay?" I'm like, I'm fine. I'm absolutely fine. They're like, we just need to put your legs in the air. Things are not going great. Like, I can't even sound the alarm for myself.
I think that's more of a trauma response, though.
You think?
I think so, because I think it's kind of like, I kind of relate to that. I feel like I've always been unable to verbally, like I can't scream or cry. You know, like some people really, like if they're in pain. Remember when we was at the hospital and there was that guy who was like bawling on the floor and screaming?
Which time?
The last time. Last time. Been to the hospital a lot recently. But when I had my last abscess and there was that like middle-aged guy and he was like on the floor, he was just being so loud and like, oh, I'm in pain. And guys, I was in pain and I was just like
hyper-independent.
Silent. Yeah. Right. So I think it's kind of like, hyper-independent trauma response.
Yeah.
Because I remember another time I went to get a wax and I was in so much pain. I was like, this is self-harm. And she was like, you can scream. I was like, but I can't scream.
Yeah.
And so I'm just silently crying, tears rolling down my face because physically that's easier than letting out pain verbally.
Being emotional.
So maybe.
Same with birth. I tried to scream and I was like, this isn't me. I'm not too dramatic.
Not a bitch.
I don't want the attention right now.
Yeah, so maybe we should both go to therapy about that.
Fair.
I think. We'll get into that on another Psych Yap session, guys. Anyway, so back to these studies, they basically crystallized, they solidified this term of the diffusion of responsibility, right? Because the more people that were in the room or on the call with the study, the less likely and the more time it took them to actually report that potentially someone has had a seizure and died on the other side of the line. So very interesting. Awareness, they said, is not the issue. It's the fact that emergencies don't actually guarantee action. Right. And again, because you have this shared responsibility, you feel like it's someone else's responsibility. Yeah. Or the responsibility is not fully on you, which ironically often leads to nothing being done because everyone's kind of waiting or thinking that someone else has done something or waiting for someone else to do something. Yeah. And then a lot of the time, no one actually ends up doing nothing. Yeah. So, L for the human race in that one. So together, this and the smoke-filled room study became the backbone of everything we know about the bystander effect in psychology and later, of course, studying humans. I kind of mentioned earlier about how genders and cultures and also ages can differentiate how people actually report things. And I was thinking it from more a cultural point of view because I was thinking as a person of color, there are some situations, not emergencies like that, but there are definitely some situations where I'm like, I'm not getting my black ass involved. Yeah. You know what I mean? I don't want to be the one that ends up getting arrested or the one that, you know what I mean, somehow it backfires on me, especially I feel like if you're dealing with a Caucasian, right? It's like, I'm not trying to be.
I'm not going to enter this fray.
Right. You try to help a Karen, and then the Karen comes out and says you're the one that attacked her in the first place. I don't want that drama.
Go to jail.
I don't want that smoke. Right. So I do think culturally, again, with your age and also your gender, there was a few more studies that were done in the future that did show that women were more likely to report things. I mean, I want to say obviously because women who run the world, girls. And yeah, men are just kind of more likely to
shrug it off.
Yeah, shrug it off and side eye and keep moving and
carry on with their day.
Yeah, get on with it, as they can and as they do. Back to Kitty, right? So here's the thing: the media story wasn't actually entirely true. So the newspapers reported that 38 people witnessed or heard this attack going on.
Wait, was she outside or inside?
So this is how the story actually went. She was actually a baddie. When I was kind of researching Kitty herself, she was a baddie, and she was also a lesbian. All right, LGBTQ, go her. And obviously in the 60s, this was, I can imagine, being so much more difficult. So she was a badass. Yeah. She was a bit of a rebel. She was smart. She was kind of that girl. So she had finished working at a bar. She's driving home. She had a red Fiat, driving home, girl car. Nice. And she gets out of the car. This guy is following her and she starts running because she sees the guy following her. He stabs her, boom, boom, twice in the back.
Oh my God.
She's screaming. And let's say a neighbor from across the road starts shouting like maybe he can't fully see what's going on, but he can hear screaming. So he's trying to be like, leave her alone, whatever. So Winston runs off, but he and the guy, I guess, who shouted thought that, okay,
it's gone, it's done.
He went back to bed. He said, I done my duty as a citizen.
I'm out here.
I did my thing. But Winston, he did not run away very far. He actually just went to change his hat. So, and moved his car around. Winston. So I guess people couldn't see him as much. Apparently he put on a wider baseball cap to kind of cover his face a little bit more. So mind you, homegirl has just got stabbed twice in the back. So she's kind of, crawling to her apartment block.
So sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm trying to keep it in.
Please don't give yourself a seizure by trying to hold in your coughs or swallowing. Please, I don't actually want to see you pass out
I'm nervous.
episode. It's okay. You're doing great, sweetie. You're doing great. Okay? Have a water break. I'm going to have a buzzball break. So homegirl, like I said, kind of made it to her apartment block. She's kind of in the hallway on the floor, again, screaming. She's in pain. She's got stabbed twice in the friggin' back, right? Winston finds her, stabs her another 12 times, right? Again, she's, of course, screaming in pain, shouting. Now, the thing is, which I didn't know, which I don't know why I've never thought about that, but there was actually no 911 emergency services at this time. It wasn't centralized at this time.
Oh.
So 2 people actually did call the police, but at this point in time in history, they had police precincts. Which I've always heard, like in old films, right? You hear about, the police precincts and da da da. But it never registered in my brain that it wasn't 911, right? Yeah. So each of these precincts had their own telephone number, and it wasn't a 911. It was like a normal telephone number. So not a lot of people had this number memorized. Not a lot of people, this happened at, I think, 3:15 in the morning. So not a lot. It wasn't a quick access. Oh, it's this number. It's memorable. It was a normal telephone number for this police precinct. So it was kind of less about maybe people didn't want to do anything, but more the way getting help and emergency services was
a bit of a chore.
Yeah, it wasn't easy, right? So 2 people, like I said, did actually call the police.
Yeah.
So, I guess somebody did try to do something. And then as our good sis Kitty...
That 33%.
As our good sis Kitty is bleeding out in the hallway of her block, one of her friends from the apartment came and she's like, oh my God, like she, I think, managed to call the ambulance. She's like, they're on the way. Stay with me, girl. And she unfortunately died on the way to hospital.
Rest in peace to a real one.
Yeah, rest in peace to a real one. She was a good girl, Kitty. I fear she would have really done something in life. Like like I said, when I was reading up about her, I was like, damn, they really did our good sis bad. So like I said, there was no emergency services at this time. And following her death, very valid, there was a lot of social fucking outrage, especially, again, okay, this is in the 60s. Winston is a Black Jamaican man. Kitty is a white Caucasian woman. They're like, oh, hell no.
Yeah.
Get these.
Lynch him.
Out, right? Of course, social outrage. And even more outrage, because I think it made Americans look at themselves and be like, damn,
Could have been me.
We're also bad people because look how many people were there and we didn't do nada damn nada, right? Again, this is what was put out in the newspapers, which literally sensationalized the case. It really caught on widespread.
Yeah.
So from her case and the kind of outrage that came from it, that's actually kind of what made the 911 emergency systems come into play, because they was like, it's not easy. It's not easy to call for help. So it was 3 years after, I believe, in 1967, when they actually officially launched the 911 emergency services. They wanted, right? Like, how did they keep going on for so long before that? Kind of baffles me. But this is when 911, was actually created. And I think from this as well, what was I going to say? It did take them quite a while to get it widespread nationwide. So I think it was only until the 80s. In the 80s is where the whole of America, or the United States of America, had access to the 911 call. America. And they wanted to keep it easy because, you know, Americans need it easy. So they didn't want it to be like a long phone number like everywhere else. They didn't want it to be an area code of everyone else. So 911, easy to remember. It worked worldwide. And the first 911 call was actually done in 1968 in Alabama.
Oh my God, Alabama.
Right, Alabama. Which, I don't know, kind of makes sense to me. Down south. So yeah, that is kind of like the aftermath of the case and kind of what that came through. But as I said, the newspapers put out that 38 people saw, witnessed, and no one did nothing. Wasn't entirely true. Someone did kind of intervene the first attack.
Yeah.
But I think, I don't know. Like, I just have to assume that he didn't physically see what was happening. Because I feel like if he saw that homegirl got stabbed, you can't just go back to sleep. Surely.
Well, it's New York.
Right, it's New York. What
but the bystanders, like, what did you say? It was like 3 o'clock in the morning. Why were there so many bystanders?
Because it's New York.
But, like, who were these individuals?
Just people in the neighborhood, right?
But, like, they're out on their step.
I wouldn't necessarily say they're out on their step. But you know what I think about? Have you watched The Bronx Tale? I think, you know, like when at nighttime, kind of people are at their windows. Obviously, they have their fire escapes and stuff like that as well. So I think more so, maybe not everyone was outside of their house, but a lot of people probably came to their windows, heard the screams, right?
Heard the commotion.
And I think they were very loud back then, into shouting across each other. And I guess there was crazy shit happening all the time, right? So probably people were waking up all the time at nighttime to some crazy shit happening. So I think it was more, again, if they didn't see, they heard what was going on. They heard commotion, they heard screams, and again, they didn't do anything.
But then if it was so loud, how come she didn't, like, the guy ran back, changed his hat, because fashion is everything, and moved his car
out of the way.
And, like, she's already made a commotion. She's trying to get back to her place. So how comes the friend didn't hear? You know, like, if we're that's why I think it's a bit confusing with the optics.
It is, because like she got attacked twice, like double homicide, literally. Like, you kind of got away, and then he went to change change his fashions, and then came back and
murder.
Right, literally, and then finished off the job. So it's bizarre, right? Which is again why the outrage was so outragey, because they were like, "What the hell? Like, how did this happen right on your doorstep in your neighborhood, and nobody got involved?" But again, this is Queens, right? Do you want to get involved with a black man? You know? Do you want to get involved with Mr. Winston, who's got a butcher's knife?
What if he
comes for you?
What is the breakup of those people that lived there at that time, do you think? Like,
interesting.
Because it's going to be
majority
poverty, right?
I would say majority people of color. Majority. So I believe where she lived specifically in Queens was Kew Gardens. And she came back to work from, let me just get that because I had that little bit of information. This is a little bit of more insights that's going to help us. So apparently only half a dozen of people actually saw.
Okay.
And they were actually able to testify in court. So out of 38 people that kind of heard commotion or, you know, got the vibe that something was going down, only 6 of them physically saw the attack itself and were by that then able to testify in court, which again, I think 6 is enough. 6 is enough for somebody to do something. But again, if there's 6 people that saw and 2 people called, then that's a third that did actually do something. Now the stats don't seem so bad, right?
That's true.
So again, this is media. of trying to paint a certain picture, trying to
Ain't
sell
nothing changed.
newspaper articles. Exactly. So I guess it was overhyped a little bit. Where she was being a bar manager was in Hollis, Queens, and she lived in Kew Gardens. I don't know how far that is geographically. Obviously, she did drive. So I assume, I'm going to say maybe a 10-15 minute drive from where she was. People that actually heard the crime, they couldn't decipher where the crime was actually taking place. And they also thought it was kind of just a drunken brawl. Again, this is Queens. Again, a lot of crazy shit probably happens at night. So a lot of crackheads running around. And I thought the same. I think sometimes I do hear some questionable noises on our street. And you kind of just think, doesn't sound like I don't know, because also no one's been violently stabbed to death on our street. I think the screams are different.
No, I actually have been in this situation when I lived in like that little community women's shelter house thing.
Ghetto.
And but in my defense for this, I had just started taking some medication. And it
I was gonna say, were you pregnant again?
No. And the medication completely zonked me out. And I woke up one night to screaming. But the thing, I was so disorientated on this medication. And this woman was screaming and there was so much noise. And I was just like so out of it.
Like you couldn't even tell if it was
I couldn't even think. And I was like, oh, I'm dreaming. Like, this is so weird. Like, because I had weird, vivid dreams. And then I woke up in the morning and there were police everywhere. Oh, no. And this man had basically like beat this woman half to death with a hammer, like a few doors down to me.
Traumatizing.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Damn.
Crazy.
How do you feel?
I felt bad.
Yeah.
I felt bad. I don't think I could have helped if I wanted to, because like I said, these tablets really
and to be fair, like even if you would, I mean, well, besides obviously calling the police, which thankfully at that time 999 was a thing. Emergency systems. But like as a woman, if a man is attacking another woman with a hammer, like physically, what can you really do?
I know, but I feel like it's hard to say, but I would definitely still try and get involved once police are called. Like you have to send an alert first,
so know it's not too long before.
Yeah, but if you can break that assault up, like it could be the difference between saving someone's life or witnessing a murder.
It's true,
but the risk, you got kids,
right? You got stuff to lose, right? And that's what I think. I think in New York, like people had their own shit going on, right? Like people got kids, people got work, people got bills to pay. Like, people got to get up for work in the morning. It's not easy. Life is shit. And again, I think at the time there was probably a lot of crazy things happening at the night times, I can imagine, on the streets of Queens in New York. So I think that, like I said, a lot of people put it down to maybe thinking it was just a drunken brawl.
What do you think though, as a window watcher, as a woman who sits by the window?
Neighborhood watcher. I think, I've seen my next door neighbor's car get robbed. And
which one?
Literally next door. Remember the red little van that he had?
Yeah.
Here. And we heard commotion. I'm someone, guys, I'm not gonna lie. If I hear a little ruffle, I'm at my window. Okay, I am a avid window watcher, neighborhood watch. And I think it was difficult because we actually couldn't see the people's face. They was hooded up and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But we did record it to kind of like give to the neighbor. But I don't know.
Did you call the popo?
Well, the neighbor did come out and kind of catch them in the act as they was doing it.
Had they started like jumping him, what would you have done?
I probably would have. Well, here.
Go outside.
Go babe. Go deal with it. Be a man.
Be a man.
Yeah, I think I probably wouldn't have gone out simply because they're all men.
Yeah.
I'm just a girl.
Yeah.
But I probably would have shouted from the window, hey, leave him alone.
Yeah.
Or I would have been like, I've got you on camera. But then also, are they going to come and smash my window?
Well, the neighbor did that once. There was some guy getting beaten up outside. And we both came out at the same time. And I was like watching for a while. I was like, get him.
Kick him in the butt.
Get him. They were actually terrible at jumping him. I can't lie. And the neighbor come out and she's like, oi, what are you doing? And they ran off.
Yeah, I think sometimes it's enough because I think sometimes people don't think anyone's watching, right?
Yeah.
So I think someone, coming out, they don't want drama. They don't want the police, So I do think that sometimes it's enough to just be, as clearly that guy thought, it was enough to be like, oi,
Yeah,
leave her
I've done
alone.
my thing.
Yeah, I've done my thing.
I wonder how he felt after. Like, did they
came
ever
back?
catch?
Well, I assume that he was probably one of the people that testified in court because he was essentially involved in splitting the attack up, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, an extremely unfortunate case, honestly. And like I said, Winston rolls eyes. Unfortunately, did murder a few people, and he was sentenced to death.
Good.
You know, so
rest in piss.
I like that. Rest in peace, bitch. So yeah, okay, let's get back. I feel like we've
sorry
derailed a little bit. So yeah, I mean, something good did come from the unfortunate, very terrible murder of my good girl Kitty, which being, of course, these psychology studies as a start, but then also the centralization of the emergency services as well. There has been some more modern experiments done about the cyber bystander effect of, you know, people getting cyberbullied, attacked online, and people seeing and nobody doing anything about it. What's your thoughts?
Kind of thrown social media in the bin because I watched a video the other day of these two women, and one of them was trying to get at the other one, and this woman was like trying to hide under a table, and they were best described as like lower class citizens of the UK. And these boys were all standing around them like recording, and it was so uncomfortable to watch.
Yeah,
like a really disgusting traumatic experience. And like they clearly needed help. Like they were both probably not both not in the best places. Like there definitely seemed to be some sort of drug and alcohol thing. And they were all just standing there like laughing and egging her on, and like it was so uncomfortable to watch. And so now I'm just like, I've distanced myself from it because I see a lot of that.
It's difficult with social media because that is how in the modern world that's what people do, right? It's like the bystander effect, but people do nothing. They just get their phones out and record instead.
Yeah.
And sometimes, again, maybe they think, okay, well, someone's called the police. I'd like to think, even though I know this isn't the case, you know, obviously recording can be used as evidence, right, to show what has actually happened. But I think too many people record for entertainment purposes.
Yeah, it's like people that record people that have died in crashes,
very fucking
and
weird.
horrible ways, and they just like to film bodies and post it online.
Very weird.
That
very,
needs
very
to be
weird.
studied.
Yeah.
What do you think, armchair psychologist? What can we take away from this to be better citizens?
To be better citizens, everybody needs to, I think, assume that people feel how they feel, right? So if you feel like this is weird, people probably feel that way as well. And don't assume that somebody else has sorted it.
Yeah.
Right. I think like it's always good to confirm or to make sure that help is on the way or something's being done, instead of just kind of waiting and assuming that somebody else has done something and you know something else is being done.
But what about in the real world? If you see something
in the real world,
like people are getting their phones snatched up all the time.
Well, I've been a victim of that myself. I've been a victim of that myself. So I think in real life, I think there has been situations where I have got involved. I saw once like this girl and this guy got off the bus and he was like clearly abusing her physically, verbally. And I went up to the girl and was like, and this is probably why people mind their frigging business. So I went up to the girl like, okay, like let's call the police, We called the police. I'm sitting at the bus stop. We called the police, let them know what's going on. And she just went off with him. She just said, no, don't worry. So it's kind of like, you know,
damn girl, I'm late.
Right, like I'm trying to stand up for you. You don't even want to stand up for yourself, which again, of course, not all, especially like domestic violence and control, coercion is not all the same. But I do think there's situations where you try to help and people don't even want to help themselves. And people don't want to get themselves out of the situation. And like, you know, you could be on the way to work. You could be having a bad day yourself. So I think it's difficult in the modern world. I do think that the bystander effect is somewhat gotten worse, especially from people recording videos, social media. And I also feel like we kind of get desensitized to a lot of stuff from social media because we see so much crazy shit happen that again, abnormal things become normal, right? Because we're seeing all this crazy stuff that it almost becomes normalized in our brain that this is kind of just, this is the world we live in now. And this is just what happened. So I think it's difficult. But as a moral of the story, I would say, you know, in emergencies where shit is real, I do want to say that my natural instinct would be to help or to do something. Things that are a little bit more low-key, a little bit not emergency, a little bit less dramatic, I'm definitely not my circus, not my monkeys. I'm just a girl. I'm just a goddamn girl. So yeah, guys, I hope you enjoyed our little session today. And before we leave, actually, I have my final question for you. Do you think Kitty's murder would have been dealt with differently now in 2025? Like, if you think at 3 a.m., if there was a girl who got attacked on our street, do you think the same thing would have happened? Do you think it would have been a bit different? Do you think people would have responded differently?
Not with our neighbors. I think, you know what? I think the beautiful thing about humanity is people always surprise me. And there are so many good souls out there. You know, they're scattered around. There are people that are going to look the other way, but there are also equally the same amount of people that are going to be like, bitch, are you okay?
Yeah, there was some modern studies that had kind of shown that people do help more in the emergency situations, and people aren't as blasé. But I mean, again, I think it depends on your demographic. I think it depends where it happened. You know, if it happened in a sketchy area, maybe people are less likely to if it happened in central London. So I think there are a lot of context is important in every situation, right?
Yeah.
So I do think there's a lot of scenarios that it could be dealt with differently or responded to differently. I would like to say something that extreme. I think help would be hollered for. And again, we're at a stage now in life where we do have emergency services, 999. So I think, you know, you can call them with a lot more ease. So I think even if people didn't physically get involved, a lot of people would have reported it at least. I would hope. One would hope.
What do you think though about the people that don't, like that need for self-preservation? You think that's wrong, or you think it's okay?
Ciao.
Yeah.
It's difficult. It's difficult.
Yeah.
Because on one hand, I feel, you know, survival of the fittest. You know, natural selection.
Gotcha.
You know, you staying out of people's business might be what leads you to having a longer life. True. Right? Is it bad to be selfish like that for your life? No, like, you know, like say for example, you help someone and you end up dying. Like maybe you saved that person.
Like that guy that jumped off the bridge to save that woman.
Exactly. And then he ended up drowning, right? Yeah. So it's like, yeah, that's great. He saved another person. But is it necessarily selfish to kind of protect your, like, no one, I don't think, wants to die. Do you know what I mean? So I think, I don't think it's a black and white answer.
Yeah.
I don't think it's a black and white
nuance.
Answer. Yeah, there's some nuances around it. So yeah, guys, that is our episode of the Psych Yap today. Kitty, our Good Girls Deaf, really showed the flaw in human psychology and really paved the way for the bystander effect and a lot of experiments that came after that. So next week, I'll be back again with another experiment that is going to shake you to your core, that is going to shock you. If there's any experiments that you'd like me to dive into, get nerdy about, let me know in the comments below. Thank you to my sister for being my guest. I'm very happy that you made it through without passing out.
Miss Bizzle in the house.
Swallowing. T Bizzle in the house. We'll see you next time. Buzzball, please sponsor. Holla.
Oh, that was good. That was so fun.
Thanks.
That was really good.